Aloha everyone. I am Lane Davy, also known as Lanesky, and I'm your teacher this semester for Religion 151. And I just wanted we're gonna do a short video lecture today. This is Laulima, and I just want to go over a couple things from last week. Really important for this class is going to the syllabus tab and clicking on the schedule. That's where all your assignments will be and all the materials will be linked there that you need to do the assignments. So this is what you should have done last week. You should have created your blog or your digital portfolio. I know some students were having trouble using Adobe Express. So I open it up, use anything you like to use as a website. I do encourage you to meet with me on Zoom and try to get Adobe Express started. Some people said they just had to use a different email than their .edu email. It's an amazing program. It's super easy. It's fun. But if you want to use a Google Sites, you want to use Canva, or if you're just, having a really hard time, you can just do a document and do your blog post that way. I really encourage you not to. I know it may seem sort of frustrating or cumbersome to figure out how to do a web program, but they are so accessible and so easy nowadays. And part of taking an online class is learning how to use these digital resources. And it's just, I can't express how valuable just, being able to write on a resume, yeah, I know how to make a website, is for you and, for you as a professional person. So anyways, if you're having problems, just please get back to me right away. Because I looked on the wiki and I only see two. This is where you should be posting your link. There's only two up there. And you guys have to do participation. I have to do participation verification this week. So at least you need to at least go to the discussion messages. I put an introduction. You have to at least go in there and just introduce yourself. Just write anything to let me know you're in the class and you're in the class, and or email me, but you have to let me know that you are participating in the class some way. I think by Tuesday or Wednesday, I have to drop people from the class who haven't in some way touched base with me. So, but do please don't get behind. You should be doing these posts every week. And you should be following along. So I'm giving you guys a lot of flexibility. I realize that. If we go to the syllabus here, yeah, you're supposed to be doing every week. This is this week. We're going to do the introduction. And then next week, this week is still really, not much of a workload. But next week, we're going to have readings. We're going to have a more intense video lecture. And then, but, you don't really have to turn in much until week 12, and then your final paper. But if you leave it till week 12, you will fail this class. These are not things you can do in 10 minutes. You're going to have to watch the lectures. You're going to have to do the reading to do the prompt. It's not a lot of work. It's actually, a very light load, but I'm trying to give you flexibility, so people can do a lot in 1 week and a little bit less the next week, but do not get behind. That's not a good thing. Also, we'll be doing peer reviews on week 4. So after next week, we'll have a peer review. So make sure you have something up there that you can review with the class. That's part of your feedback. And then I'll also have after that, probably the next week, I'll let you turn and submit it to the assignment section for me if you want me to give you feedback just to let you know how you're doing with your post, give you a grade, so on and so forth. So anyways, let's go back to the, so syllabus, schedule. Schedule is the key to the course. You should have read this little short article to give you an idea of what, how you should write a blog post. What is the voice? You know, what is the tone? How's the formatting? So do review that. So this week, so at this point, you should have created your site with an opening image, 250-word bio about yourself, and a 250-word introduction about religion and how it relates to the meaning of life from your perspective. This week, you're gonna watch the video lecture, which you're watching now, and then you're gonna, which talks about religion. Then you're going to either add to that introduction or form another paragraph, using at least one definition of religion in this video, and one quote. So I'll have quotes from several religious studies scholars, and you should use one of each, you know, a definition and a quote. So you can either agree with the definition or disagree, or agree with the quote or disagree, but you're supposed to use it to form your own definition of religion. What is definition of religion to you? So it should be about 250 to 300 words. And so you can either, like I said, you can integrate it into your introduction that you already have, or add another paragraph. But you do need to edit it. So it shouldn't be repetitive. It should be clear and concise. You shouldn't have your first introduction and your second introduction say the same things. So do edit. That's part of the writing process. And since this is a writing intensive, that is important. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started on the video lecture. First, I want to start with a map of world religions. So as you can see here, purple is Christianity, and that is the, you know, especially if we look at this map, by far the largest world religion. And then we see green, which is Islam. So the second biggest world religion. And then the red is Buddhism, the orange is Hinduism, the light purple is non-religious. You can access this map just through Google if you look up world religion map. And so you can see, you know, this is China and all the different religions there. Judaism is this tiny little blue, indigenous. So, you know, you get an idea of world religions. Why study religion? You know, can religions coexist? These are some of the questions we'll start looking at. Religious studies started in the 50s, which is relatively, you know, late. And so it doesn't really become a discipline until the 60s. But it's the scientific study of religion. So you have sort of emic study or insider study, and then etic or outsider studies of religion. So Friedrich Max Muller was an early religion scholar, and his approach to religion was one that was rational and objective. What does that mean? So he said, those who know only one religion know none. And he was concerned with questions like, what is religion and where did it begin? So I think that's important to our class, is that, you know, to really know all the different religions is to expand your view of not only religion, but culture and philosophy and sociology and so many other things. Um, and that's exactly how we study religion. We can look at it historically, anthropology, many different ways. And that is why it is a discipline in education. So when I say religion, you say, and that's what you should be thinking about for your post. As I read these quotes and different scholars, think about what is it to you. Use the definitions that are here and develop them into your belief about religion. Most religions start with stories that form identities for a people group, a specific people group. Usually those are stories that relate to a particular place and a particular people in that place. From those stories, we get scriptures or sacred texts. We get ritual practices that can be in the scriptures, teachings, beliefs, philosophies, and then seasons, holidays, and festivals. So usually they're fairly tied to the stories. Religion comes from the Latin word religiare, which means to bind. Bind to what? It binds people to what is right. It binds people to a group. It binds people to an awe for the sacred, according to Roman beliefs. It's a system of life that binds people together in a group and orients them to the gods. So there's a dispute over translation, though. Agamben says religion is not what unites man and God, but what ensures they remain distinct. So there's a question of, is it about connection or separation? And I think we can see this in all religions, that they can either be one or the other. So again, many people do not prefer this word religion. Hindus prefer the eternal teaching. Jews, Christians, and Muslims like the word faith. Taoism, it's the way. That's also what the early Christians called themselves, was the way. It's also the Mandalorian. And that's something you could write your final paper about, is how the Mandalorian might represent forms of world religions. Star Wars, George Lucas, he definitely consulted with religion scholars to form the movie. The Force is basically representative of all world religions according to Lucas. It's that life force. So here's just the Oxford Dictionary definition of religion, a textbook definition. Patterns of beliefs and practices that express and enact what a community regards as sacred and or ultimate about life. So you can see that these definitions they vary widely. And usually if you read religious scholars, they will start by putting forth their definition of religion so that you understand where they're coming from. Emile Durkheim was a French sociologist who revolutionized the study of religion with his theory. He looked at the social role of religion and saw it as a unified system of beliefs and practices which unite into one single moral community. There are scholars that look at religion and capitalism. So Karl Marx famously said, religion is the opiate of the masses. It was the government's way of giving people something in the afterlife that they were taking away from people here on Earth. Max Weber was a German sociologist who coined the term the Protestant work ethic. And he says that, this idea that if you worked hard and you were frugal, you sort of built this this pile of money that you pass on, but you never really spend, but you work hard and you're frugal. And if you're successful, that's sort of like a representation that of your salvation, that you are blessed. So I think nowadays it's not so much salvation, but if people are successful in their business, or they are monetarily successful, they're often referred to as blessed. And so Weber said that's what fueled capitalism. Um, and the threat of eternal damnation for people who were lazy. So yeah, these are interesting concepts. Sigmund Freud, an Austrian neurologist, and the founder of psychoanalysis, said religious people are ill. Religion sprang up from unconscious wishes and neuroses. Eventually, people will get well and dump religion. So, they haven't dumped it yet. So maybe he was wrong. Maybe he's right. I don't know. I think maybe religion has something more to offer than neurosis. I hope so. Um, we're taking a whole class on this. Iliadi looked at some key things about religion. What is essential to the system? What does it mean to be human? How do humans interact with the sacred? How does the sacred become community? So religion is anything that engages in negotiating what it means to be human. Here's a couple of other quotes. Mark Twain said it was a set of things which the average man thinks he believes and wishes he was certain. Religion is an attempt to escape responsibility. Religion is a way of walking, not a way of talking. So Sweeney is one of the people that I worked for who taught a religion class, but I like his definition of religion. So he's just another religion professor like me teaching these religion 150 and 151 classes. He says it's a set of sacred symbols providing a self-identity, worldview, and media through various media. And then he says, what about spirituality? That which makes us most human is the sacred within us all. I kind of like that definition. And yeah, symbols, right? Symbols of identity. Religions have symbols. And then some of our modern symbols become almost religious. So the Starbucks symbol is actually a religious symbol. And, people who have a ritual every morning of going getting coffee at Starbucks, and they expect a group of people there that are also partaking in that same ritual. It does sort of form a little bit of a religion, especially when you have marketing and stories and things that the people can sort of bind together around. Another thing we can look at is Apple, right? So people who have Apple products, the way Apple is marketed, the sort of group identity that is created around Apple products. MRI scans show similarities between religious experience and brand allegiance. And this is one of my favorites. So Rudolf Otto was a Lutheran theologian and philosopher. Um, he says, what grows out of and gives expression to experience of the holy in its various aspects. But he wrote this book, and he describes a religious experience, and that, and says, like, halfway through his book, that anyone who hasn't had this encounter with the supernatural, or hasn't had this type of religious experience that he has described, can't possibly understand religion enough to really have a perspective about it. So basically, he's kind of debunking religious studies by saying you can't be objective about the sacred and the supernatural and the experiences and relationships in between. So I think that's really important when we look at religious studies, is can you really study the supernatural, and how it, people have a different encounter with it. And in some ways, religious studies almost has to suggest that it's not true, or it's not an authentic experience. And that's why it can be studied. Because if it's unknown, then we can't really know it. So these are the kind of things we'll be thinking about through the semester. So William James, religion cannot be judged and is not related to one holy entity, because all people experience it differently and individually. So we also have to think about something that is sacred and something that is profane. So for some religions, the pig is a sacred symbol. They might worship a pig. In other religion, it's profane. And there's several different things like that. And then we have to think about, is God the source of the sacred? So I'll go ahead and let you just read those. What is God? Right? The famous quote by Nietzsche, God is dead, means that science and rationalism killed God. So Nietzsche is arguing that people killed God. But this is a very interesting scholar, and when he talks about God. Lansky's definition of religion, that's mine. I wrote this a while ago. I don't know if I would change it much, but God, the sacred, brings people together to acknowledge that there is something bigger than themselves. God can interject in the world through supernatural means to bring justice, but the divine usually works through people who are open to the revelation. Religion is the system that surrounds the sacred, or the revelation of the sacred. So you can see from my definition that justice is an important part of religion, and also relationship and revelation. So, this is kind of what I want you to do. What is your definition? And, you can just state something like that, and then use one of the definitions here to either debunk it or a quote. So I could use Nietzsche's, or I could use Marx to talk about how God actually isn't dead, or it's not really just about control, or something like that. Or you could, before that, like, this is why Nietzsche's right, this is why Marx is right. And here is a blurb that I wrote about world religion. So most religions are ignited by a superior force, which is often extinguished at the very inception of religious studies. This is why I find the study of religion so entertaining. So I'll end with that, and then just these fun ones. I don't know if you've seen this, but religious truth, Taoism, shit happens. Buddhism, if shit happens, it really isn't shit. Hinduism, this shit has happened before. Islam, if shit happens, it is the will of Allah. Catholicism, shit happens because you deserve it. Protestantism, work harder or shit will happen. Materialist, whoever dies with the most shit wins. Atheist, I can't believe this shit. Judaism, why does this shit always happen to us? Rastafarianism, let's smoke this shit. So anyways, that might help you with your definition. That's all for now. Be prepared for a little bit more work next week and some readings. So please do contact me if you have any questions or you need any help. And I'll see you next week. Oh, we ho.